everyone, this is Sofia Osfour and welcome on this new episode of my masterclass podcast on healing wounds with the Osfour self-coaching model. This week I'm going to do something slightly different because I received an email of one of my followers asking me a question. I thought this question could relate to so many people. So here's the question. Do I think that feminism has destroyed relationship between men and women? And if yes, how could we heal it, especially on the part of women? So here is my answer. But before I can start to answer that question, I have to go back to the roots and cause of the problem in order to clarify the origin of that situation. First of all, let me say this. When I created my own self-coaching model, I did it for 3 reasons. 1, because I deeply understood the connection of the cause and effect between the unhealed wound that a person carries and the quality of relationship that one might attract in his life. 2, because despite what most of us realize, the early experiences, interaction, and challenges of our life are without a doubt going to massively influence and form the inner blueprint in which you will build your entire identity as a person in your life. And that process could easily be referred as grooming. Now, here's the thing about this programming things that nobody ever tells you about. And of course, by programming, I mean the environment you grew up in, and that it is, when it is empowering, fulfilling, caring, and supported, then guess what? That is exactly what you are going to be able to reproduce effortlessly in your life. Precisely because during the early days of our lives, this programming is not just experiences, but it is in fact acting as standards, guidelines of rules and expectations about what you can and what you can't get in your life. On the other hand, if and when you grow up into a toxic environment, you will inevitably reproduce it because it is also part of your blueprint. Now, it is important to mention that you don't necessarily reproduce the same toxicity. Sometimes you do something opposite of that or slightly different, which could be seen as an upgrade, but who is only an avoiding mechanism. The only way out really is by understanding, forgiving, and healing until you become so self-aware that you can outgrow, that blueprint by making new conscious choices for yourself. Finally, I have also understood throughout my own life in my work as a coach and mentor that none of us are actually equipped, prepared, supported, or guided to emotionally, intellectually, even physically comprehend, manage, and control that blueprint. Instead, we are left at the very hand of that unchecked, unsupervised, and unconscious programming that will constantly and consistently take you down the rabbit hole until the day you can transcend it. Which, by the way, is absolutely possible. It's just that depending on the level of toxicity that you have been around, it can be a massive task, especially because how are you supposed to change something that you don't even know is there, right? So creating a self-coaching model that will give each and every one of us the tools, skills, and knowledge to become the support, help, guiding coach that we never had, it makes complete sense in my opinion. And to make matter worse, let us all be aware that each generation are adding up extra layers of unhealed wounds that become part of our emotional inheritance, both individually and collectively. And the thicker is this claw of pain, the more work is going to take for you and for us all to heal it. And while we're at it, let's also underline the extraordinary power of loyalty that the human being feels towards the programming/environment, which is absolutely mind-blowing to say the least. In practice, what it actually means is that a woman will stay with an abusive man, not because she likes him or because she's weak, as so many would be so quick to judge, but because that treatment is part of her comfort zone. Because somewhere in her childhood, she has internalized the idea that being treated that way was all that she deserved. Just as a man will unconsciously choose the wrong type of woman that will drag him into the mud, making him feel inadequate, unloved, and unworthy, while at the same time dismiss and betray the only women who truly loved him. At first glimpse, all of those behaviors could easily give you the illusion of a conscious choice, when in truth, all of that is only an automated reply to a traumatic experience or unhealed wounds that more often than so are being passed on from generations to generation. Yet for some crazy reason, mostly ignorance, we end up buying into the idea that this actual work of healing is optional, that you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it. And although it is a fact to say that it is a choice and a conscious choice that one has to make for himself, it is by no means an option. You see, people think that they go into a relationship to build a life, a family, and to be happy. And that is certainly part of it. But mostly we go into a relationship to heal ourselves, more than anything. For instance, did you know that whenever you are attracted to a partner, what you really are drawn to is not who they are as a person, but in fact the wounds they carry, which is a perfect match with the one that you have. And spoiler alert, guys, the truth of the matter is that you can only date people who are at the same level of vibration than you do. And that has nothing to do with success, money, or beauty. In that regard, vibration is pretty brutal host, and it doesn't discriminate. So from that point on, we can easily understand why dating or relationship has become such a complex task in our society. I mean, just think about it. In today's society, relationship between men and women has literally and undoubtedly reached the lowest point in the entire history of humanity. We have lost respect, connection, and trust with each other. We are 8.1 billion on this planet, yet men and women all around the world have never felt as lonely and fulfilled and ultimately isolated than we are. Oh, don't get me wrong, we got plenty of followers and dating apps for casual relationship. I mean, think about this concept, right? Casual relationship. You know what? I had to Google this stuff, right? So here's the definition. Casual dating or casual relationship is a physical and emotional relationship between two people who may have casual sex or near sex relationship without necessarily demanding or expecting the additional commitment of a more formal relationship. In other words, it looks like chicken, it smells like chicken, but it's not chicken. Now, I don't know who came up with that concept, but one thing is for sure, it's seriously twisted. So, to answer the question that has inspired this video, no, I don't think that feminism has ruined chances for men and women to be happy or ruined the relationship between us. Although I will certainly agree to the fact that it has surely and mostly worsened the situation when it actually managed to really solve any problem, especially for women. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because feminists made the exact mistake that macho man attitude made, which was to move from the logic and the posture of lack and competitiveness between men and women. Lack and competitiveness. There we are. If we could name only one problem as the root cause between men and women fight for so-called equality throughout the years, when in truth it's about power, then the posture of lack and competitiveness would be the first element that I should be establishing as the heart of the problem. Feminism in that frame can only be considered a symptom, but never the disease. On the other hand, the disease that man and woman relationship is suffering from, and in fact has been suffering from for centuries now, is coming from a very insignificant yet deeply and profoundly unwholesome question, which is, who is more important to humanity? Women who can produce offspring, or men who are the seed of that offspring? Did the egg come first or the chicken? You see, some questions are simply not worth asking, and this one is a perfect example of it, simply because it immediately creates a separation, a division, a dissociation, a disconnection between something that was purposely and effectively designed and built as a whole. Men and women are two different parts of the same thing. They can't be compared, let alone being vulgarly scaled against each other. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? The plan was and is for both of us to be complementary to one another, supportive, caring, loving, and therefore to work as a team in order to ultimately face the daily challenges of the huge task that was and is ahead of us. And it is for that specific reason that Mother Nature, in her great wisdom, has provided us with both different responsibility, different sets of skills, and different powers. So, let us all acknowledge the fact that whoever asked that question did it from his ego and not from his heart. Let us all acknowledge the fact that despite all the abuses, manipulation, and resentment that has been built between men and women because of that question, we actually genuinely, profoundly need each other. Because no matter how powerful, beautiful, smart, or rich a woman is, she will never feel as protected and loved as she will when she falls asleep into the arms of the man she loves. Just as a man will never feel as complete and powerful in a moment, and because of his action, he managed to make his woman happy, because through her eyes, he can see a reflection of himself that will boost his self-esteem like no other achievement will. Let us all acknowledge that unless we start this healing journey, the relationship between men and women are only getting worse. So, for the sake of making this video effective, I'm going to give women 9 tips on things that I believe needs to be worked on, in my opinion, would be the starting point of a healing canvas that could be used to guide each and every one of us on this healing journey. And the sooner we start, the better it is. First of all, I want to clarify the responsibility of both gender. So, I will start with the women. Women are the alpha, the guardian of the door in which our species can come to life. In other words, they are the physical and tangible incarnation on earth of Mother Nature. Therefore, our responsibility is to carefully and wisely pick and choose the men who are going to be the father of our children and such our partner. Men are the omega. It is under their back that our species can prosper, grow, and evolve from where we are to where we want to be. Now, don't get it all twisted. It's not because I have said that women are the alpha that you are all letting this go into your head. Sure, the alphas start the race, but make no mistake, the omega is the one who finishes it. Without starting, there's no ending, but without ending, there's no starting neither. Because you can only praise the starting point of any story precisely because it has been finished. So here are my 9 tips for women. The number one thing is that, in my opinion, women have to get out of this victim posture that so many of us are stuck in, and they are using as leverage to avoid facing our responsibility of why things are the way they are. Because I tell you what, whatever power so many women feels that men have taken over the centuries, one thing is for sure, and some of you are not going to like to hear that, is that they could only done it because other women have been complicit and helped them. The second, in my opinion, is that, and in fact, it's, in my opinion, the most important one. Women need to deeply and profoundly understand how precious they are, how precious you are. Your time is precious, your love is precious, your body is precious, and above all, your babies are precious. Who you share those 4 things with are only a reflection of how you value yourself. And in fact, your job on this earth is to learn to choose well for yourself. 3. Women have to stop once and for all to judge their value based on their youth, their beauty, their ability to reproduce, or their relationship status. Nor should they allow themselves to judge or undermine other women because of that. When you do that, and if you're tempted to do that, keep in mind that you're moving from a space of ego. And second, the standards by which you are judging your sister today are the one that you are going to be judged by tomorrow, and it's just gonna hurt. Women have also to stop to consider considering other women as a competitor. This is a trap that men have devised against us, and boy, it worked well, because it has isolated us, weakened us, and in fact destroyed trust among us, depriving us from an important support system. 5th, women need to take a moment and clarify what is your worth, clarify your boundaries, and when it comes down to men and relationship, clarify what you are happy to accept and what you won't accept anymore. And more importantly, stick to what you have decided for yourself, even though the world or men are not validating your choices by the action. What you believe, you have to stick by what you believe in your heart to be your worth. 6, stop demanding that men value you, because in truth, right, the behavior of men towards you or us is only a reflection of how we consider ourselves. And I can guarantee you that the day we start to truly and deeply and profoundly value ourselves is the day where men are going to properly value us. This work of healing is a serious work. What it actually demands is for us all to refocus our mind, and our goals toward ourselves, so that we can learn to love ourselves unconditionally, completely, and totally. Because I tell you what we can't ask men to honor us unless we are capable to honor ourselves first. Get out of the hooking up culture as fast as you can. This is a new culture that we see growing in our society, and the new generation are facing this, and it's just so unhealthy for women. Women are not built for this stuff. Despite what, feminism has told us in the last 20 years, this is completely an outrage, and it's so unhealthy for us. So get out. This is a place where you can only get hurt, where your self-esteem can only get hurt. So this really is outrageous. And finally, women have to stop complaining and instead make decisions about what they want and how they are going to achieve it. See, I think that for women, when we're not happy in a place or in a relationship, the tendency that we have is that there's so much investment. For instance, if it's in a relationship, there's so much investment that's been put in a person that instead of actually making a decision, we complain, hoping that it's going to change. And the thing is that we waste a lot of time complaining, where truly what needs to be done is making a decision and walk away. And I think that the reason we don't do that is because none of us are taught to do that. None of us are taught, most importantly, to clarify what are standards. We're not taught how precious we are, and we're not taught to clarify what are the standards that we have. And I think, to go back to the title of this video about feminism, as I said, I don't think that feminism ruined everything, but, I would say that feminism has certainly not done a lot of good, but it has done some good, in the sense that I believe that we needed for things to get as bad as they are right now, for us to get them better. And this is a chance for all of us to make things better. But I honestly believe in my heart that women are the number one. Like they're the one who can start this. I don't think that men don't suffer from the situation. They actually do. But I think that maybe it's not going to hit them as fast as it will for us, right? Because we're much more sensitive. We build different in a different way. And this is not to say that there's not men out there who wants to meet the right woman and keeps on, getting all the wrong person, of course. But I'm just saying that I believe in my heart that we are the one who can really start this healing process. And what's interesting about what's happening now in time in history is that now we can really sit down with a different level of consciousness, with a different level of awareness, knowledge, and decide, okay, what is it that we want to create for the future woman, because it's not going to happen overnight. Things are probably going to get slightly worse before they can get better, right? Because the bad habits that have been taken now, before we can turn them around, it's not going to happen overnight, right? So it is very important to clarify the fact that the work that can be done now, by each and every woman going back to her own place and, nourish herself, just as I said to the beginning of this video, just by finding out, okay, how precious I am. If every single woman on this planet really carried inside of her how precious she is, she could fully understand that, she could really touch that fully, completely, and not from a space of ego, right? But really from a space of light and healness, right? There will be an incredible shift, because women, there's so many things, there's so many behaviors that they will not even allow in their life. And I tell you what, I'm just going to finish with this. I think that often women feels as though men are more powerful than they are. Certainly men are, hunters. And in a way, it looks like it makes them more powerful because they are the one that hunts. And we're the prey in some kind of ways, right? But what I want to really emphasize here is that we have powers because we are the prey. Specifically because we are the prey. See, a hunter has to adapt to the prey. So he has to adapt. If he wants to hunt the prey, he has to adapt to her behavior. So our power lies in the way we behave. And the way we behave lies into the standards that we set up for ourselves. This I don't want, this I don't accept, this I don't want, this no, this no, this no. So for sure, for a certain period of time, it might mean that, and I'm not going to sell you lies, it might mean that you might stay alone for a while, but it's best that you stay alone, that you go into something that's just going to damage your self-esteem, that's just going to allow yourself to be hurt, that's just going to allow yourself to be diminished when you're so precious. This is the opposite. So it's best you stay into your little world, and you nourish yourself, and you heal yourself, and you make your standards grow and stand by them, because I tell you what, there's power behind it. There's certainly power behind it, because at some point when, let's imagine if every woman would do this work and they will completely change the behavior, men are going to automatically change their behaviors also. That's it. And we're going to be able to meet, because by the way, I have to underline this fact also, is that there's a lot of good men up there. There's a lot of good men, but somehow good men attract toxic women, and good women attract toxic men, right? So for us to really meet each other, we have to do this healing work where we can really, really, really raise in a way the level of our vibration by just doing the healing work. And that's how it works, really. So you guys, I hope that this video helped you, and I might do some more videos about this, because I think this is an interesting subject in today's, because there's so many craziness that happens. So until next week, all I'm gonna say to you is peace, love,